Hi, my name is Dr. Glenna, and I teach the concept of therapy is a lifestyle. It's the idea of addressing your mental health before it becomes mental illness. I think that there is a really big health and wellness push just in our society in general. So not even specifically in terms of mental illness, but just an overall push for feeling better about yourself, taking time for yourself. I think our society went from like early 1900s where life was slower, and then it sped up like exponentially. And then I think we're finally realizing like, hey, I think our fast-paced society is wearing us out in ways that it just doesn't have to. Within that, I think that there is more of a push specifically towards mental health and understanding mental health and getting around the stigma of mental health so that people are really talking openly about things, and talking about going to a therapist is not so taboo. It's becoming more of the norm now.
Dr. Glenna Anderson is on a mission to normalize mental health care. She says adults and the youth in general could benefit in having regular mental checkups, and that it shouldn't be any different than seeing your primary physician once or twice a year.
Mental health has to do with your overall well-being, your sense of psychological peace, whereas mental illness is actually a collection of symptoms that alter how you feel, your perception of the world, your view of others, or even sometimes your sense of reality. People think that if you have mental health issues, you're crazy, and they have this image of this person just walking the streets, talking to themselves completely disheveled, and that's just not it. First of all, you can have symptoms of a mental illness without fully meeting criteria. So you can have symptoms of depression without being clinically depressed. It just means that for some reason you're having deep levels of sadness, and people shy away from that. And I think that when we do that, we make it so that we don't acknowledge how we're actually feeling, and then it just festers. And one thing just builds on another, and you end up way worse off than you had to be. If you would just acknowledge how you're feeling and get help with it, you would be a lot better for it.
According to Mental Health America, more than 44 million American adults have a mental health condition, and more than half of adults with a mental illness receive little to no treatment at all.
Are people afraid to go see a therapist?
Yeah. Yeah. People are afraid for a number of reasons. Some of it is cultural stigma. Some of it, they think it's going to cost too much. They think that they're going to be on medication. And people have all of these preconceived notions. And it's like, just come to the office and see. It's not going to be half as bad as you think it is. So what I really want you to focus on between now and when we meet again is setting healthy boundaries. I really think that's...
And her message? It's okay to reach out for help, and it's okay to speak to a professional about your challenges. From a very young age, Glenna knew she wanted to work with people, and she discovered that she had a natural ability to resolve conflicts.
I call myself the bully's bully. So growing up, I was the person that went after the person that was picking on the other kids. So I would just kind of hang back, and if I saw something, then I wouldn't mind pulling somebody to the side and saying, hey, that's not right. And I don't like seeing people get stuck in bad situations. So if I see someone struggling, if I see something, then I'll kind of very quietly go help out and address.
Born and raised in Long Beach, Glenna says she grew up with healthy boundaries, and she thanks her parents for instilling in her a love for learning, self-value, and a strong faith in God.
My mom was very clear that there's a whole big world out there. You don't indulge in everything that's out there, but you need to have a healthy respect of what is out there. I'm a proud product of Long Beach Unified School District. I went to Garfield Elementary, and then I was in a magnet program. The feeder school was Stevens Middle School on the west side of Long Beach. And then I went to Long Beach Poly High School, the greatest high school in all the land. I have a lot of pride. I played the trumpet from the 4th to the 10th grade, and then I discovered MAC lipstick. I didn't want to play the trumpet anymore. But I did dance. I did a marine biology summer camp. If every single girls enrichment program at the school put out a flyer for it, I was going to try to do it.
As you're dealing in these roles of like finding out what you want to do, how did your parents play a role in that, and what did they feel about your career choice?
My parents are very supportive. My mom never lived vicariously through us. Her vision for us was always that we would be happy, healthy, blessed, and that was enough for her. Now, what that looked like she was open to it. If I said I wanted to play the trumpet for the rest of my life, she would be okay with that. If I said I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, she would support it. If I said I want to be a social worker, she's there. I mean, my parents are very, very open, very supportive. As long as you're not disrespecting yourself, disrespecting them, disrespecting God, then they're here for it.
So God also played a big part in your life growing up?
Huge. People ask me like, oh, how did you get into this and how did you do that? And my answer is always like, I don't have the answer that you think you're gonna hear. My whole life, I'm literally a living testimony. My whole life is predicated on my spiritual beliefs, my faith in God, and being in tune with Him. And whatever way He tells me to go, that's how I go. I grew up in church. I grew up singing in choirs. Like literally, we sang in the choir. We were on the usher board. We were on the youth ministry. We did praise dancing.
After graduation, Glenna attended San Jose State University, where she further dived into social work. And for the very first time, she was on her own.
I got a lot of parking tickets. I always joke, I say, I think I own a corner of San Jose for the number of parking tickets that I got. But college was fun. College had its challenges, of course. You're learning, you're away from home, you mess up your money and you realize that toilet paper is not free and it does not just appear and you have to figure it out. I learned how to live very meagerly.
Going from high school to college, what would you say were the biggest differences for you or the biggest challenges in that change for you?
That was when I learned that I was an introvert. So me and my sister are 2 years apart, but she's an introvert too. And so we get along like she's really like one of my best friends. But we have a way we can be with each other without irritating each other. So we can be in each other's presence because we like the company, but we'll just be there silently. So when I got to college, I was like, wait, you people won't leave me alone. Like I'm in a dorm and there's constant contact and I have a roommate and my friend across the hall is not an introvert. So he's like, come on, let's go. We gotta go hang out. We gotta go eat dinner. And I'm like, I need to be left alone. I need to recharge. I have to figure this out. And I did have some anxiety around social interaction and understanding myself. And actually, he was one of the first people to point it out. He was like, you're one of those people that has to be by yourself for a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I am. And then I started to become more self-aware. And then you have to contend with becoming more self-aware and explaining it to other people and contending with maybe it'll be well received, maybe it won't be well received. So reconciling where I grew up, how I grew up, and putting myself in a place where everybody doesn't get me and everybody doesn't understand me and everybody has a different experience. When I experienced anxiety in college, I read about it, I got educated on it, and I was like, oh, so everybody has anxiety. It's just a matter of how you manage it. Like, oh, easy fix. And I say easy fix, as in there is an answer to it. Learn about yourself, learn what to do, what not to do, and then you can manage your anxiety. And I saw mental health and all disorders as that kind of way. Like if you learn about yourself, if you learn how it's impacting you, then you can better manage it. Now I'm saying that very simply, I have a healthy respect for, major mental health, but I just felt like people were so unaware of how their mental health was impacting their overall life. And that's where I knew I wanted to spend my time.
Glenna went on to get her master's at Cal State Fullerton, and during that time, her personal life flourished. She met the man of her dreams, got married, and together they have 2 kids.
It is interesting being an introverted spouse and an introverted mother and adjusting that. But my husband is very understanding and he knows that about me. And so he'll ask me a question, or maybe if I'm a little gruff, then he's like, you need a minute. Yes, I do. I need a minute. But it was interesting.
I know I'm not a mother, but I know that a lot of times I've heard things of like, you kind of get lost in being a mother and a wife. Is that something that you've struggled with, or have you always been able to balance those things?
I think I've had moments where I felt like I was drowning. I think a part of motherhood is you never feel rested. You always feel a little bit just discombobulated. I wouldn't allow myself to get completely lost. I mean, even if it was just, I need to do a lap around Target with nobody with me, just to feel sent Target is therapeutic. So I just needed to go to Target by myself, remember who you are. I remember I had a sorority sister that specifically said, she was like, look how you dress before you got married. Look how you dress before you had kids. Stay that person. And so I heard it. And I really made an effort to remain myself, whether it was, wearing lipstick or getting my nails done or whatever. But there's definitely moments, that's just part of being a mother. There's definitely moments where you don't even know what end is up. I was working for a large nonprofit. I started out as a therapist. So right out of grad school, I got hired as a full-time therapist working with adults treating major mental illness. Loved it. I love the company. I had an excellent, just amazing supervisor that really taught me a lot about diagnosing, about customer service. That was amazing. After being a therapist for 5 years, I got promoted and I became a supervisor. So then I was now training therapists and supervising them as they worked with clients. Loved it, but it was time to shift.
Working at a nonprofit organization had its benefits, and Glenna really progressed in her career. But after a few years, she realized she was ready for something different, and she couldn't quite shake the feeling. So stay with us to find out the next steps Glenna takes in her career.
Palm trees, coastline, craft brews. Yep, this is Southern California. But this is Torrance. Have you ever driven to a whole other city just for a bowl of ramen? Because if you haven't, that's about to change. Have you ever been to a beach that feels so much like your own private beach that you're like, where has this been all my life? Welcome, my friends, to Torrance Beach. So private, you hadn't even heard of it. Have you ever been to a mall that had literally 2.7 million square feet of shopping? Run, don't walk to Del Amo Fashion Center. And get this, Torrance is the actual epicenter of the South Bay's craft brew industry. I guess you could say the brews are just craftier here. We also have a farmer's market that's just as much about the people as it is about the food. And even our museum scene is the best of the South Bay. All this just 15 minutes from LAX. You'll come for the city, stay for the experience, and leave as a friend. So, are you in?
Glenna worked full-time at a nonprofit organization as a therapist. She made good money, had great benefits, and her family was comfortable. But she couldn't escape this feeling that she should open her own practice.
It got to the point where I was more concerned about what would happen if I stayed than if I jumped off the boat and just did what he told me to do. So that's really it. God put it in my spirit that it was time to do something different, that my time had ended there. It's a great company. They supported me in getting licensed. They were great to employees, but God just said it's time to shift. I think the next thing was finding an office space.
Was that exciting?
It was nothing but God. So that day I'm telling you, like, everything I do, it's like, well, God, that was nothing but you. Like, I didn't do anything. So I kind of peeked around and looked at some office spaces. And one day I was taking my daughter to the doctor at Kaiser, and I usually take a different way to the freeway for whatever reason. I took Torrance. Well, the Torrance Office Center on the corner of Torrance and Western had a sign up saying that they had offices for rent. And they had the perfect size office right at the budget that I had in mind that was going to be available on March 1st.
Finding her dream office was the easy part. Now, opening her own practice came with some unexpected challenges.
I had never experienced loneliness. That was something that I could not have anticipated. You go in an office where you are the solopreneur and you don't have anybody. You don't have a coworker to go to lunch with. You don't have a boss to consult with. I ate lunch every day by myself for at least 3 months straight. You don't have anybody at the water cooler to run into. I didn't know anybody in the building, and everybody kind of does their own thing, so I was just kind of like, hi, and then they go in their office and I go in mine. It was one of the most lonely times that I've ever experienced in my life. Loneliness in the sense that you have a desire for human interaction and you can't get it. 8 hours straight every day, because I only had a couple of clients speckled here and there. And to be in an office, I'm a social worker. I'm not a business major. So to be in an office, and I'm on Google University, like Googling everything, trying to figure out, well, what is marketing? What's the difference between marketing and advertising? And, well, how do you write a business plan? Like, well, what does it even look like, and what's the language, and do I need a business loan? Well, I don't know. Lonely is the best way to describe the first few months of being in private practice.
Now, I know you said you only had a few clients too, so how did that work out financially?
Oh, I didn't write myself a paycheck for at least 6 months. Did not. I paid rent. I paid like my phone bill, oh no. And it's just what it was.
Was that a scary time for you? Was there ever a moment where you were like, I don't know, this 3 months, we're at the, you know what I mean, 4th month?
Yeah. It wasn't. It's had its scary moments. It's had its scary moments, and it's had its guilty moments, because I had a job where I was being paid well, and my husband married somebody that had a job that was being compensated well, and I had benefits, and the position that I put my whole family in so that I could chase my dream, if I don't even call it that, but answer my calling, everybody had to sacrifice for me. Everybody.
And it was during that busy time that Glenna says God spoke to her once again. And this time it was to direct her towards another program.
And one day, sitting in church in June of 2016, God literally said, once again, cast your net. Like in the Bible where they say there's no fish, and he says, cast your net. So I'm like, for what? I'm like, God, I already know where all the programs are. I already know why I can't do them. And God said again, cast your net. Go search for another program. And again, I was like, no, I already know. And he said it again, and I was like, okay, fine. Sitting in church, I Googled on my phone, Doctorate of Social Work programs in California, and up pops USC's program. Now, the reason why it didn't pop up before is because it's a brand new program, and I was once again in the inaugural class. So when God was telling me to cast my net, it was because when I was searching previously, it didn't exist. It was rigorous. Writing papers, the reading, the material, again, just being pushed mentally, it was rigorous. It was worth it. It was an excellent program, but it was rigorous.
Oh, wow. Now, at this point, own practice, doctorate, the kiss. How are we mentally?
There would be days, I kid you not, there would be days where I would go to work or get the kids dressed in the morning, go to work, see a couple of clients in the morning, go home in the middle of the day, make dinner, leave it on the stove, go back, see more clients, have class from 5 to 7 because it was an online program, have class from 5 to 7 and stay in my office until 1 or 2 in the morning to work on a paper.
The hard work paid off, and in the summer of 2018, Dr. Glenna Anderson was born.
I had who's that girl in the picture? That's not me. I still have it. Someone has a video of when I was getting hooded. I still go back and look at that video like, the little black girl from Long Beach is now Dr. Anderson. Like, whoa.
With her schooling finally behind her, Glenna could focus solely on her practice, and she turned to social media to market her work and to spread her message.
Mental health in a minute. I get this question all the time. How do I go about finding a therapist? So what I started doing was I would go, my friends have a studio. I would go in their studio and I would record what we call psychoeducation, which is educating people. Psychoeducation videos, and then that would be my content for the quarter. I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't have the language. I didn't realize that I was front-loading content, pre-recording things. And the quality was really good because my friend's studio was a legit studio. So I started pre-recording quality videos, and it really started shaping my brand. So everything that I teach falls under that umbrella. The components are mental health, physical health, relational health, financial health, and spiritual health. So everything that I teach somehow falls under that component. All of the videos, all of the written things, all of my activities always fall under that component. Therapy is not an event. It's not something that it's like, oh, I'm gonna go and then I'm gonna pop out. It's like, no. If you're going to sustain overall healthy mental health, you really have to make this your lifestyle. So anxiety disorders can really interfere with any part of your life. And I specialize in anxiety-based disorders. So that means generalized anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, even social anxiety.
Glenna has one goal in mind, and that is to make therapy part of the everyday conversation. When she is not in her office seeing clients, she is on social media, she's teaching intensive workshops, and she's on the radio. Glenna also created t-shirts with her motto, "Therapy is a Lifestyle," and self-help planners, which she calls Miss Glenna's Little Black Book.
You can break your goals down by quarterly, monthly, weekly, and even daily. And so every quarter there's a theme. This year's theme it has to do with timing and passion and identity and purpose. And so every quarter there's a theme, just something to read over, and every month there's a journal entry. And the purpose of the journal entry is that it gives you some time to reflect, and then you have a space where you can actually write out your action steps. And then every week you write out, what am I going to do just this week? And then you break it down to, what am I going to do today? So I like to make sure that people have something concrete and tangible that they can walk away with, so that I know that they're going to be successful once they leave me.
With over 15 years of experience in mental health, Glenna has the knowledge and the training to treat adults and couples in a variety of personal struggles or mental health challenges. And she knows that with the right tools, everyone can achieve good mental health.
If I could snap my finger, I would normalize the idea of going to see a therapist. I would really advocate for just really parity in every person's life. The idea that the same way that you regard getting an annual checkup or a biannual teeth cleaning, I gotta get my check-in with my therapist. It would just be standard. People wouldn't think twice about it. People always say, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 1-year plan? I don't know. I got some stuff on a vision board. But I'm like, above all, God, I want your will for my life. So if I say I want to do speaking engagements or I want to teach my Therapy is a Lifestyle workshop, God, that's what I have in mind. But your vision for my life is so much greater than what I could even imagine. So whatever I say, that's cool. But more so, God, I want your will for my life. So I'm definitely living out my calling, and I'm definitely happy.
For Faces of Torrance, I'm your host, Jesse Pierre, speaking to ordinary people doing extraordinary things.